Hello mathematicians, today this video is going to be about how to use your calculator to do some simple stats, and particularly the standard deviation. Now this is part of your course and some of these moves are just a little bit tricky, so you can re-watch this video if you don't get it. And we'll see how we go. I think you'll pick it up reasonably fine, and again it's just a matter of practice as to how you go with this in the future and remembering it. You are going to have to remember which buttons to use. I think it's fairly straightforward when you understand what you're actually doing. Okay, let's make a start. I'm going to put some numbers on the board to help you with finding a standard deviation of just some simple numbers. My whiteboard markers are gone. Here we go, let's give this a go. Some good numbers are 10, 9, 5, 22, 76, 91, and 2. You can see those numbers on the board. I'm going to do a standard deviation of those numbers. So here we go. You need your calculator. This is a good calculator, Casio Fx82 AU+2. Good one to use. There are some more up-to-date ones than this one here, but I think the controls are very similar. So your workbooks will have some instructions there as to how to do it. I found a slightly better way that will help, particularly when you've got higher volumes of numbers. So let's go with this. What I want you to do is hit Shift, then Mode. Got to find my finger over there, Shift Mode, and you find you'll come up with a whole bunch of options. Let me put it up near the screen. Okay, we're not actually interested in any of those options. If I scroll down with my finger, if I get it right there, with this one there, I end up on a second screen, and you'll see Stat is available there. We access our statistics this way because it gives us that frequency option. So I'm going to hit 3. Where are we? Doing this backwards is a little bit hard, and you can see frequency on or off. We want it on, so I'm going to hit the 1, and there's nothing that appears on the screen, but you've set up your calculator now to be able to do statistics and to be able to do them with frequency. So let's give this a go. What I want you to do now is to go into and press Mode, and when we hit Mode, you'll see Stats comes up. Yes, we're interested in doing stats, so I'm going to hit number 2. And at this point here, and your workbook outlines this as well, we want the 1-VAR, the very one at the top. All of the others here are statistics functions that we can use, but we're not interested in doing those at all, not today anyway. So I'm going to hit 1 to get us into our screen. And you'll notice, if you've done this before, you may have noticed that you've only had one column. Here we've got 2 columns. Let's start entering our data. The column on the left-hand side, the X column, is the one where you put your data. And simply how I do that is I'm going to start with my first number, and if I look at the board, my first number is 10, then it goes 9, then 5. All right, so I'm going to type in 10, and then I hit equals. And when I do that, equals actually puts the number into my calculator. You can see that there. There's a lovely, I'm trying to get this backwards thing right, a lovely 10 just there. And so my next number, I'm going to do exactly the same again, is 9. So I've hit 9 and equals, it puts it into the calculator. I'm going to enter the rest of my numbers exactly like that. You'll notice that in my frequency column, there is a 1 of each of those, which really means I've only got 1 of each of those numbers, which makes sense for this data. Let me keep going. 5 equals 22 equals 76 equals 91 equals and 2 equals. And I have all my data in there. And it should tell me, and I can see that I have 7 pieces of data. Yes, number 8 has come up, but I haven't put anything into that position for that column. Okay. Now that I have my data in there, it's stuck. It's in memory. So I can do some weird things like hit the clear button. Hitting the clear button clears the screen. It doesn't clear the memory that we're going to use. Now that we've got the data in there, we can add, as in we can access the data via statistics. This makes it fairly easy. data entry is probably the hardest thing, except for knowing how to now get the statistics from that data. So the way we do that, you'll notice that the little one down here has got stat above it. That's how we access our statistics. To do that, we've got to hit the shift first though. So hit shift, then the 1, and you'll find we have a bunch of options. What do we actually want? Now, because we chose earlier 1 VAR, you can see that the option there for 4 is VAR. That's the one that we're actually after. So I'm going to hit 4. And then these are the options of what I want. Now, I'm hoping that you understand that N means how many numbers do I actually have. We're not interested in that at the moment. Number 2, it does say X bar, and you already know that the X with a little bar over the top there means the mean. So I could access the mean of these numbers. Or number 3 says sigma X, which is our population standard deviation. Or number 4, which is our sample standard deviation. I press 4 and I could gather that. Now I'm interested at the moment for my population standard deviation, so I'm going to hit 3. Nothing comes up. I have to hit equals first. So if I hit equals, that there is my population standard deviation. And 34.1, that's what I would round that through to. Okay, so that's population standard deviation. Now, if I was after my sample standard deviation, I would then clear that, because all it does is clear the screen again. I would hit Shift 1, which takes me back into accessing the stats. I'll get this right. I'm going to choose 4 because that's our VAR. And now, because we're after sample standard deviation, that's number 4 here again. I'll hit 4 and hit equals, and I have another number, 36.8. 8, yes, 36.8. You'll notice that this number is not a whole lot different to the last one, and that is the way that it is expected. I'm not going to explain as to why here in this video, but that's how it's expected. That's how you do standard deviations, both population and sample, using simple numbers. Now I'm going to change things up a bit, and I am going to just clear that. I'm going to give these things a frequency. So on my board, I'm going to change it just a little. Now watch this. I need my pen again, I keep losing it. I'm going to say, so that's my score. And for each one of those scores, I'm going to have a frequency. So I'm going to put an F down there. So how many 10s do I have? Well, I think I'll have 2. How many 9s will I have? Let's put 50. 50 lots of 9s. And I'm going to continue filling that in. 7, 9, 22, and 76, and 1. So all of these are frequencies for the number that's above it. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to do is be able to enter, or to have to enter, all of those numbers in singularly. It looks like there could well be 160 of those numbers, and we'll find out in a minute. Okay, so there could well be 160. I'm not going to put them into that table as 160 individual numbers. And the calculator, and I showed you a little bit earlier, has that right-hand column with frequency where we would enter these numbers there. Okay, so let's give that a go. Now, I still have the data from my last problem in here. So what I'm going to do is I have to go right back to the beginning and select stats. And what that does is it clears the memory. So let's go Shift, Setup, or Shift Mode. I'm going to go down to go 3 and Stat. All right, I'm hoping you can see that. And then I want a frequency on. I'll select it again. That's cleared the memory, so now we're ready to go. I'm going to hit Mode, and yes, I want to enter some statistics, please. So Mode 2, and we know that we're after VAR, so we're going to pick the first one. All right. You'll recognise the 2 columns again. You'll notice that our data from our last example isn't in there, and I'm going to get busy entering the data. Let's do that now. Because my cursor is in the first column, I go 10 equals 9 equals 5 equals 22 equals 76 equals 91 equals 2 equals. Now I've got all my data in there. I'm going to access my right hand column by using my little cursor thing on my arrows to move, and I'm going to move right back to the top because that's the easiest way of doing it. You can see it's ready in the first row, and I'm going to enter my second row of data. First with the 2, there it is, and then keep going along. So 2 equals 50 equals 7 equals 9 equals 22 equals 76 equals and 1 equals. And all of my data's in there. I've got the score on the left-hand side, and then I've got the frequency, how many there are, on the right-hand side. All my data's in, ready to go. Let's clear the screen and let's access some data. Okay, you know how to do this now. Shift 1. Okay, what do we want to know? Oh, well, actually, we've got to get through to VAR first, hit 4, and we can access our standard deviations exactly the same way we did before. I'm not going to do that right now. What I'm going to do, however, is work out how many of all of these numbers we do have. So the first one, I'm interested in the first one, and so that's the amount of numbers. I go 1 equals, and it tells me there are 167. My guess before wasn't far off. Fancy that. Okay, I'm going to go clear, and I'm going to find the average of those numbers. So Shift 1. Okay, 4. Now the average, you know, is the extra little bar across there. That is our mean, and I'm going to go 2 equals, and my average is 55.6. I'll leave it at that. 3 significant figures is plenty. I'm hoping that this video has allowed you to access new functions on your calculator and allowed you to reasonably simply work out statistics. Back in my day, it was a lot harder than this. We used equations to be able to do all of this. So you have a calculator now that makes it so simple. Don't think that this is a difficult process, because I'm telling you, this is much simpler than what it was when I was at school, your age, working out standard deviations. I'm not going to show you the equations that we even use because they would bamboozle you. All right. I'm going to leave it at that. Hope you learned something today. And have a good day.